Good morning. Here we are back in the Shiloh Sunday School class again, and we're just going to kind of carry on with what we were doing last week. And what we're going to talk about here now is Jesus is arrested, and he's been arrested by these chief priests and elders of the church and this palace guard and all of that. And anyway, Peter has lobbed off Malchus's ear, and Jesus has healed that and put that back, and he's kind of admonished these people that have come to arrest him because they had all kinds of opportunity to do it in the daylight. But sin always does its best work in the dark, and so I used to know a pastor, and if some of y'all out there listening may have heard him say this because he was very popular. It was Brother Tommy Nodell, but he used to always say about his girls and about dating, he always required that they would be in by 11 o'clock because he always said no good thing ever happens after 11 o'clock at night, and there's wisdom in that. But as far as sin goes, it does its best work in the dark. So anyway, getting into this lesson a little bit, we're Brother Rick Gaines is going to be teaching this in class, and then I'm doing this for the tape thing, and so I'm going to bump some things that he's going to you will have heard him teach that earlier in the morning if you've been in Sunday school class. But it says here there beginning in verse 54, it says, "Then they took him and led him and brought him into the high priest's house, and Peter followed afar off." Now, there's something to be said here that John was there also. You know, we give Peter up and down the road quite a lot because he's always out front. He's kind of the guy that's leading with his nose, so to speak, and so he gets all the notoriety for a lot of things. But John was with him in this. The other guys, they're gone. They're actually probably in what we think of the upper room. They don't really know that for sure, but contemporary wisdom says that's where they're at for the next few days, really hiding out. And so, you know, it's easy to give Peter and John up and down the road, especially Peter up and down the road over some things that's fixing to transpire here. But yet, at least he was there. You know, those two out of those 10, Judas has realized the error of his ways, and actually by now he's probably killed himself, or you know, I don't know where he's at. That's another issue right now for another time. But anyway, the phrase at the very beginning there of that, where it says, "And they then took they him," or they took Jesus, they arrested him, and the phrase in that, the breakdown of the sentence is that they violently did that. It was not a thing that well, okay, come on, you can go along with us. They attacked him, and when there was no need for that, and they did that. It says, and then they led him, and you know, you can imagine the probably tied his hands with a rope and drug him along after they pushed him around and maybe laid their hands upon him a few times. And it says there, they led him and brought him to the high priest's house. And at that time, there's two high priests that it talks about there. One is Annas. His father's name was Annas, but Annas was Caiaphas, the current high priest. He was Caiaphas's father-in-law. We tie all this back over in the book of John. We put all this together, and we see these things that are mentioned there. And but anyway, Annas was kind of the more popular high priest in that he kind of had the Jews' ear. Caiaphas was appointed. he was an appointed high priest by the Roman authorities, and he was not liked because of that and some other things. But yet we see that, and this is where they had taken Jesus to Caiaphas' house. And in this process that we'll be studying in the next couple of weeks, we see that Jesus underwent 6 trials altogether. And bearing in mind from last week, they've been up all day, they've been up all night here. Now they're into about 1:30 to 2:30 in the morning when all this is taking place, after the very intense time of prayer in the garden, and the multitude coming and arresting Jesus, and that's what we see in that. And so they brought him unto the high priest's house, and Peter followed afar off. You know, he has said, and he's told Jesus that no matter what, even though he die, he said, I will not deny thee, and I just will not do that. And Jesus told him, he said, before the cock crows, you will have done that 3 times. And there's that 3 rolling around again. And I can kind of, in my mind's eye, I can see Peter thinking about that and thinking, oh no, not me, Lord, I never would ever do that. But then, which is a good lesson for us today, when we think about that. We hear Brother Steve say one time, every once in a while, he'll say he just cringes when he hears people say that they will never do this or that, or their kids would never do this or that. He said he just cringes because somehow or another God has a way of testing you on that kind of thing, and that's a rude awakening when you think you won't, and then all of a sudden you're slapped in the face with it. And so anyway, it says there, and Peter followed afar off for whatever the reason, if he just wanted to see what was going to happen. Maybe he thought in the back of his mind, maybe they're just going to kind of rough Jesus up a little bit and then turn him loose. And probably knowing better, but there's always that hope. And so anything that we say about that is really speculation, but it's it's a possibility. It's water under the bridge, and we don't know anything about that. But and I don't want to go from teaching to preaching things, but a lot of people are doing that today. We see that phrase there, and Peter followed afar off. There's a lot of people in the church today, and their mindset is that I want to go to church and I want to be a member of this church, but don't ask me to be involved or don't ask me to do anything. And there's lots of work that it takes. Every Sunday morning, every time we have a service, there's a multitude of work goes into that with the music and Brother Steve's preaching and all the piano playing, the music, and all of that. It takes time and it's work. And every church, wherever it's at, churches need the help. But it's not only that, but we need to be involved in our local church, that we might establish some ownership in that church, that when things happen and we have business meetings, that we might stand up and ask a question. Nobody's going to get mad at you for just asking a question in a business meeting. But anyway, we need to be people that will stand up for not just to be antagonistic or to be argumentative, but just to stand up and be involved in the processes of our Baptist or congregational churches, and we are self-governing. Even though we belong to the Southern Baptist Convention, we are autonomous in our governorship, if that's a word. And so anyhow, there is that thing there that I think about Peter, going back to the lesson. Peter thought, you can just tell by studying and reading the things, that Peter thought he was pretty much on top of things when it come to being spiritual. He was a spiritual leader, but he was more the mouth of the group than being all that spiritual. And he never really understood at this point. It will come back to him later. We'll see over in the book of Acts in the day of Pentecost, and where he will, as he is indwelt, filled and sealed by the Holy Spirit, that he finds his place. And when he does, he becomes, other than the Apostle Paul, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, leader in the early church, for sure. And so anyway, we do not need to be like Peter in this thing, that when times get hard, that we're going to follow from way back off and not be involved in that, but not to be implicated with Jesus. There's something that just kind of makes you sick about people that want to. I might get turned off here. I don't know, but not from here, but at least on your TV station, and I hope not. But it's kind of almost sickening when somebody wants to go to church just to say they belong to that church, because my church it strengthens me to have this relationship not only with my brothers and sisters in Christ, but with my Lord, and helps me walk, and it strengthens me so that when those temptations and trials come, I know I'm not in this alone, that God is there. And so this just going to church to fill a pew and be a member that's just hiding out in the congregation, that's not what being a Christian's all about. And I don't mean to be hard or harsh, but it's not. And it's about relationship. And the closer relationship we can have with the Lord, the better off that we have. And the mindset is that our ministry, whatever it may be, I and Brother Linda was talking about it the other day. Some people have the gift of teaching. Some people have the gift of electronics. Some people have the gift of song and can sing like a bird. And I'm not one of them, but I know that God gives gifts to the church, and we need to find those. And in our ministry, we need to be actively involved in those ministries. And if you are in your church and you don't have one, go see the preacher. He'll find you something to do. And there's always need for all kinds of things in the local church. So what happens if we get to this place where we think that we just want to blend in and not stand out, or say, here I am, coach, put me in? Then what happens to us when we do that? The next thing you know, we are dissatisfied. We're murmuring, complaining a little bit, and then the next thing you know, we're not there. And so there's it says in our book here that a key doctrine here is evangelism and missions, and we think about that a lot. But it is our duty and our responsibility to be verbal witnesses for our Lord, and to back that up with a legitimate lifestyle as a Christian. So now let's see how bad, I probably thumped the mic there. Now let's see how bad Peter did, the kind of mess he got himself into later on in this. In verse 56, I want to back up in 55. And he said, when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the hall and were set down together, Peter sat down among them. And he wanted to blend in with the crowd there. But a certain maid beheld him as he sat by the fire, and earnestly looked upon him, and said, this man was also with them. And he denied him, saying, woman, I know him not. I do not know Jesus. I don't know anything about him, and I'm not a part of that. He was really, there's that word we talked about earlier there, earnestly. But a certain maid beheld him as he sat by the fire, and earnestly looked upon him. And do you ever, in a Sunday school class mode, do you ever look at somebody and think, I know that person from somewhere? And that's what then, and you kind of stare at them a little bit, and then all of a sudden they catch you looking at them, and you think, oh, I've been caught. And so you look away from them. But this is what this girl was doing. And said this man was also with him, and she did not beat around the bush. When you look at that, and it says, and he denied him, saying, Woman, I know him not. And then it says, after a little while, another saw him, and said, Thou art also of them. When you look at that over in the book of John, in chapter 18, it says that this second woman was a kinsman to Malchus, the servant to the servant to the chief priest, the one that Peter sliced off his ear. And so now here's Peter, and he's denied Jesus once. And here comes another servant, another maid, and she's come to him. And I said maid, servant, and another one saw and said, Thou art also of them. But this one has a dog in the race, so to speak, and that he is a relative of Malchus, and so she's maybe a little bit. She's got a reason to be a little more vehement about this intruder that has come into Caiaphas's court. They've shown with archaeology stuff where they've dug them up, where all those houses, like the high priest's house, had a big wall around it, which created a courtyard in the middle there. And so that's where they are. They've come in there, and we can look and see again over in the book of John, where John actually asked this girl, one of these servants, to open the gate and let Peter in. That how he got there first, I don't know. The Bible's not clear on that, but we do see there in the book of John where that John asked this servant to let Peter in. Excuse me. And so, he's where am I going to go from here? And so what does Peter do? He said, Thou art also of them. And Peter said, Man, I am not. I did not. I don't know anything about him. I'm just here to watch the fire burn, so to speak. And so he dealt with that. And he said, and after a little while, yet another saw him. Thou art also of them. And Peter said, Man, I am not. And then again, in verse 59, it comes back up to that same thing, with that same thing again. And it says, and about the space of an hour after another confidently affirmed, saying, Of a truth this fellow also with him, for he is a Galilean. And when you look over in the book of Matthew, you look in John, you see that he had an accent, kind of like I do, I guess, to own up to it. That my parents were my dad was from down in south central Mississippi, and deep southern accent. My mom was from up around Kansas City, and somewhere I've blended the two and kind of been stuck with this, and you just have to deal with it. But it identifies you as being different, as being an outsider, and this was the thing of being a Galilean, that their speech was different, their accent was different, their style of dress was different. Up there, in Upper Galilee, most of those people were fishermen, and probably dressed like fishermen, act like fishermen, probably in a lot of ways. But anyway, that his voice had let the cat out of the bag, and it just got to the place where there was no denying it. But there in verse 60, we see in this thing, and Peter said, Man, I know not what thou sayest. And immediately while he spake, the rooster crowed. the cock crew, it says. And then we have a hard minute for Peter here. This is his third time to deny the Lord. And it says, and the Lord turned. It shows that Jesus was dealing with the crowd here at what he was being accused of. When you look at this, to run a rabbit a little bit on this thing, these chief priests and where is it? This says chief priests, captains of the temple, the elders, scribes, elders. These people, a lot of these people were what we call Sadducees. They were actually the ruling body of the temple. They were the supreme court of the the Jewish religion, if you would. And why I said that, the Sadducees, is they did not believe in a bodily resurrection. They did not believe in the resurrection period. Jesus came, and this is what makes us different than all the others, all the other religions, so to speak, is that these Sadducees, they did not believe in any kind of resurrection. Here came Jesus preaching love and repentance and accepting Jesus as the Messiah, that he was going to come and die and be buried, but he was going to rise again the third day. And he had gathered this huge following of people, and they were afraid they were going to lose their place in society if they did not stop this guy. And actually, Ananias and Caiaphas, these two high priests in these positions. The high priest was a guy over this Sanhedrin, that court that we talk about, and they were the ones that said, we got to get rid of this guy. We're going to have to kill him. And then they go so far as to say, better that he die than these. And their mindset, they say these Romans are going to not put up with this insurrection type thing, and they're going to kill all of us. And that was the reasoning behind what they were trying to do. And one of them said it's better for him to die than for a whole bunch of us to die, is what they said. So now, coming back again now to this thing, it says, and the Lord turned from dealing with Caiaphas and these people of the Sanhedrin court, and the Lord turned and he looked upon Peter. And then we have this really bad ouch moment with Peter. And he says, and Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had said unto him, before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me 3 times. And Peter went out and wept bitterly. He knew then, it was pointed out to him that God, Jesus was right, and I have done this thing. Before you can ever repent of a sin, you have to admit that you sinned. You have to realize that you are a sinner, that we are sinners. When I say you, I'm not just throwing it your way. It's that we have all sinned and come short of the glory of God, and that we is definitely plural in that. But yet, it says, this phrase here, before the cock crow, before the rooster crowed, that was a euphemism that the Romans used because they had their watches set up on 3-hour increments from 6 to 9, 9 to 12, from 12 to 3. And so this all took place before, or this probably took place somewhere within a very short time of 3 o'clock in the morning. And so Jesus is being tossed around. First, John says that he was taken to Annas. Then he was taken to Caiaphas. And so we had the second of 6 trials there that he's going to go through here. And he says, before the cock crew, thou shalt deny me 3 times. and Peter went out and wept bitterly. So that's getting to be the crux of the lesson there. That in fact that is the lesson. We'll have to jump over next time. Come back and see us in another week, and we'll do this again. Come see us in Sunday school. We got some extra seats in there, and we'll be tickled to death to have you. And in the meantime, God bless you.